The Israeli military says that it has rescued about 4 Israeli hostages from the Gaza Strip after a very complex daytime operation. The hostages included 3 men and 1 woman who had been kidnapped during the 7th of October attack. Now, the Israeli army has identified the hostages as Noah Argamani, Almog Miryan, Andreev Kozlov and Shlomi Ziv. Now, the footage that's been put out by the Israeli Defense Forces shows Noah Argamani in an emotional reunion with her father after her rescue. Now, the RDF has said that all 4 who've been rescued are in good health and reportedly look well fed. The Israeli police has also announced the death of an officer during this operation. Earlier in the day, the Israeli army spokesperson Daniel Hagari said that the officer had been critically wounded. Hagari has also said that the operation took place in 2 separate buildings in the heart of a civilian neighborhood, and that this is a clear message to Hamas that Israel is very determined to bring back all the hostages. The Israeli Prime Minister, who's faced a lot of flack over not doing enough to bring back the hostages, has said that his security forces have proven that Israel does not surrender. Speaking after the operation, Netanyahu said that they will not let go until they complete their mission and bring all hostages home. That is both the living and also the dead. Netanyahu also met with the rescued hostages and he celebrated Noah Argamani's father's birthday. Now, Netanyahu's office earlier had released a video of him speaking with Argamani. Netanyahu told her, and I quote him here, "We didn't give up on you for 1 second. Argamani has been one of the most widely recognized hostages since the days that she was abducted." The video of her abduction was amongst the very first ones to surface in the images that went viral on the 7th of October. After the rescue of the 4 hostages from the Gaza Strip, the Israeli War Cabinet member, this is where it is interesting, the War Cabinet member Benny Gantz has announced that he is postponing today's press conference where he was widely expected to announce his resignation from the War Cabinet. More than 3 weeks ago, Benny Gantz had announced his intention to quit the Netanyahu-led government if a plan for a post-war governance of Gaza is not formulated and is approved by the 8th of June, which is today. Meanwhile, Gaza has witnessed repeated attacks by the Israelis from the land, sea and air. Reports say that the Al-Nuseirat, a refugee camp in central Gaza, has been hit again, which is a day after the Israeli strike on the United Nations-run school. The Palestinian health officials in the Hamas-run Gaza Strip have said that at least about 210 Palestinians were massacred in airstrikes in the same area in what has been dubbed as one of the bloodiest single incidents in this war. It is not immediately clear if the hostage rescue and the Israeli air assault were part of the same operation, but both took place in Al-Nuseirat, a densely built-up and often embattled area in this 8-month-long war that seems at this moment has no end. The thousands of displaced Palestinians who are sheltering at the Al-Sardi school, which, remember, is a United Nations-run school. When the school came under attack, it was the second such attack on an UNRWA school in a span of less than 48 hours. The Israeli raid on a United Nations-run school came after the military announced a new ground and air assault on several Palestinian refugee camps in central Gaza. All right, now to give us more perspective in terms of what, of course, is happening at this moment in the Gaza Strip, we're being joined by Professor Scott Lucas. He's joining us live from Birmingham. Professor Lucas is a professor of international politics at the University College in Dublin. Professor Lucas, this is information which has, of course, come in this evening that 4 of the Israeli hostages who were held in the Gaza Strip have reportedly been rescued. Now, a lot of people are asking the tactics that have been employed by Netanyahu in this war. He's faced, remember, a lot of criticism for not having done enough to bring the hostages back. He can actually bring back the hostages by doing a deal with Hamas and stopping this war, but he's continued to go on with this war, resulting in catastrophic loss of lives, and now has managed to bring back 4 of these hostages. Is he doing the right thing here?
This is a political escape for Benjamin Netanyahu with the rescue of these 4 hostages by the Israeli military. It's an escape on 2 fronts. First, it's an escape on the domestic front, because today was the day that the War Cabinet member, Benny Gantz, one of only 3 members of the War Cabinet, was going to leave because Netanyahu does not have an end game. He does not have a closing point to bring back all of the Israeli hostages. And there are still more than 120, both dead and alive, held by Hamas. And he doesn't have a war plan to lead to a political resolution. You know, who governs Gaza? Will the Israelis have to occupy Gaza? So Gantz was going to leave today. But because of the news of the hostage rescue, Gantz has had to postpone, perhaps indefinitely, that threat to leave the War Cabinet and cause early elections. It's a second escape for Netanyahu because it means he can continue this almost open-ended mass killing in Gaza, saying, oh, well, look, it got a few of our hostages back. Remember that only 2 days ago, as your introduction mentioned, that the Israelis hit this UN school, which was being used as a shelter, and killed at least 40 people. They hit the same area again today, and they killed at least 55 people. But the headlines in Israeli papers will not be about the mass killing of Gazans who continue to die, dozens, scores on a daily basis. It'll be about these hostages. So in other words, Netanyahu has got a bit of breathing space in terms of pressure from within Israel and pressure from others like the United States.
You know, it's interesting that you point out, so this war, it does look like, is essentially something that is being prolonged by Netanyahu only for his own political survival. Otherwise, there's no other objective that he can realistically achieve.
Yeah, I think that's the case. I mean, I think let's start off with why Benjamin Netanyahu needs this war to continue, unless there's an absolute defeat of Hamas. And that is because the day that the war ends, if Hamas is not defeated, his political future is in jeopardy. There will be a demand for elections in Israel. He would be quite likely to lose those elections. He is far behind in opinion polling, behind Benny Gantz. And secondly, he would face legal jeopardy because, of course, remember, Netanyahu faces bribery charges, and that trial could be resumed as soon as the war ends. But meanwhile, you say, what does Netanyahu achieve? Or, what would be a possible war aim? Well, there might be a war aim to put in a Palestinian government in Gaza, but Netanyahu does not recognize the Palestinian Authority. So if he doesn't recognize Hamas, he doesn't recognize the Palestinian Authority, what is your political outcome for this war? And the point is, Benjamin Netanyahu doesn't need a political outcome at this point because just keeping the war governing is enough to keep him in power.
All right, interesting. Thank you very much indeed, Professor Lucas, for joining us and getting us that perspective then.
Thank you.
For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.